If you should find yourself enjoying the free-to-play version of Guild Wars 2 so much that you've decided that you want to purchase an expansion, well, ArenaNet, whether you want it or not, is going to force a level 80 boost into your hands. It's up to you how you decide you want to deal with that responsibility, but instead of just telling you to avoid it at all costs until you get at least one character to level 80, I would strongly suggest that you boost a character as soon as possible. Not a character that you're actually going to play in the game as your very first character in Guild Wars 2 for basically any reason. Still, given that ArenaNet apparently has no faith in their core game experience and just wants you to bypass that with a mandatory level 80 boost, I'd like to help you use that boost to speed up or improve your overall game experience in Guild Wars 2. Of course, you'll first need a character, which you'll need to take through the very opening cinematic or story section. You'll know it when you see it, you'll have one ability, and you'll fight a boss that you can kill with one ability. Afterwards, you'll be dumped in the open world where you'll be able to open up your inventory, and in the upper left side of that inventory, double-click on the boost icon. This is going to send you to a level 80 zone called the Silver Wastes, and here you'll be a level 80 character in level 80 gear. You can use this map to figure out if you'd like to play a particular character, however, you will be limited to only your core class. See, in Guild Wars 2, with each expansion, something called Elite Specializations are added to the game. Each Elite Specialization will unlock one new weapon for your profession to use, and can thematically or even fundamentally change how your character is played. It's because of this that instead of using the Silver Waste, I would recommend, before you even start the boosting process, navigating to the upper left-hand side of the screen and clicking the crossed swords. This will bring up a UI that will allow you to enter the PvP lobby, and once loaded into that lobby, you will be a level 80 character, same as the Silver Wastes. You'll have access to all of your traits and everything. The only main difference is that you'll have PvP balance, which is admittedly a little bit different than PvE balance, so something to keep in mind. But more importantly, you'll have access to the Elite Specializations, or at least the ones that you own expansions for. And I am not at all recommending that you play PvP as a brand new character. Instead, I recommend navigating to the part of the PvP lobby with some NPCs or golems, giant robots, that you can just wail on, try different builds and ideas out until you get a general sense of whether or not that profession is for you. Of course, with all of that out of the way, once you've chosen two professions that you think you like, I would choose your second favorite profession and boost that profession. To do this, open up the inventory, navigate to the boost, and just double click it again. This will ask you to confirm. Again, make sure you're certain because this will consume it. Do so, and now you've boosted a character. In addition to now being a level 80 character and getting to keep all the gear that you had equipped in the Silver Wastes, you'll get 4 15-slot bags, which are by no means the biggest bags in the game, but are still very nice to have at the beginning. And you'll also be given a Mystic Salvage Kit. Gear and items that you no longer want can be salvaged down into crafting materials in Guild Wars 2, and the Mystic Salvage Kit is one of the better salvaging kits in the game. It has 250 uses, but don't waste it while leveling. Don't even really waste it until you're at the end game and you're getting very nice drops, because that's where the salvage kit will get the most mileage. So now that I've told you who to boost and how to boost, why should you boost at all? Well, there are a few reasons. The first of which is that, well, the booster itself is actually hiding a certain account-wide unlock. By double-clicking and confirming to use that boost, you've now unlocked an account-wide inventory slot. And as the name suggests, this is just a single inventory slot that is shared across all characters. This can come in really handy with things like the Mystic Salvage Kit that you get out of the boost, certain portal scrolls that'll allow characters to fast travel to areas they've never been without having to complete any story. And while this isn't going to be something you're going to need immediately on a brand new character, it is nice to have unlocked as soon as possible, just for the general quality of life. Now, arguably the greatest benefit for your entire account with a freshly boosted level 80 character is use that character to unlock mounts. More specifically, I'd recommend unlocking the Raptor and Springer, which are the first mounts available, and you can do this in 2 of the 3 expansions, either in End of Dragons or Path of Fire. In either case, you will have to complete the very first bit of story for those expansions, which is kind of spoiler intensive, so heads up there. But of the two, I feel like End of Dragons just has less spoilers overall. You can basically complete that very first story step and then just run to the NPCs, if you know where they are, to unlock each of those mounts. And I actually recently made a guide on this, link in the description below. Now, the mounts in End of Dragons are sort of unofficially added based on how they wanted to design that expansion, and as such, they completely bypass something called the Mastery System. The Mastery System in Guild Wars 2 is how you go about unlocking account-wide unlocks, and this replaces what would normally be the vertical progression in other MMOs, like gaining additional levels or higher and higher tiers of gear, something Guild Wars 2 does not do. Typically, you would have to first unlock the masteries, then level them up, and then purchase the upgrades with something called mastery points that you earn through the story or by exploring maps in those expansions. And given that End of Dragons completely avoids this process altogether, to earn additional upgrade masteries for those mounts, you'll have to go to an entirely different expansion, Path of Fire, in order to do that. So if all you're looking for is faster move speed with minimal spoilers, I would highly recommend using the End of Dragons method and actually clicking that link in the description because it's going to be the best way to do that. On the other hand, if you don't really care about spoilers and you'd like a little bit more utility out of those mounts, I'd recommend going with Path of Fire. Firstly, by completing the very first story chapter, you'll just unlock the Raptor, but it's after this that in order to unlock the Springer mount, you will need to put in a little bit more time, and this is where you'll probably find yourself spoiling a little bit of Path of Fire in the process. See, you'll first have to upgrade your Raptor in order to unlock the Springer, and as I stated, that means you're going to have to explore more of the maps and earn a ton of XP in order to get those unlocks, which just results in spending more time than a fresh player probably should in an expansion they have no context for if you care about the story. Additionally, and my personal recommendation would just be to keep completing the story in order to unlock both the Raptor's additional ability and the Springer, because as a new player, you're probably going to have no idea where these things are, but the story will actually guide you from earning the Raptor to earning the Springer over a course of several story steps. All in all, what you're effectively looking to earn in Path of Fire over End of Dragons is that your Raptor can lunge forward quite a bit farther, and your Springer can jump quite a bit higher, which sounds not so exciting, but I promise as someone who's navigated nearly every map in this game, if not all of them, you really want to have both of these mounts with those abilities for the best overall experience. Having mounts, upgraded or not, is a huge benefit to any fresh account in Guild Wars 2. A close second to mounts is probably just to use your freshly level 80 boosted character to be your new bank. Now, you might be scratching your head because Guild Wars 2 does have a bank, but in order to increase your bank tabs, you're either going to have to convert gold into gems or spend money to get more slots. By default, the bank only has 30 slots for all your characters, which to me just isn't enough. On the other side, a character has 20 slots with their starter default backpack and 4 additional slots. Given that the standard max level bags that you'll probably find yourself getting before too long are 20 slots each, you can see how that's easily 100 slots in comparison. Now, I should mention that for this to work, you're actually going to have to move items between characters, which can be kind of tedious, admittedly. However, if you just leave your bank alone and not use it as any kind of storage, you can actually use the bank itself as a great way to send 30 items at a time to any other character that you're playing. In our particular case, you're only going to have 4 15-slot bags, but that's still an incredible starting bank in comparison to just 30 slots. Guild Wars 2 has a daily login reward that you might have interacted with, especially if you own any of the expansions, as that is a prerequisite in order to gain access to the daily login reward. But there is also a daily, or dailies, that you can do every day, as a matter of fact. And doing so, either in PvE, World vs. World, or PvP, will earn you 2 gold. Well, as a new character, I really wouldn't recommend going into World vs. World or PvP, and instead I would recommend doing the PvE dailies because they're very easy. The main constraint around doing these things, especially as a new character, is they take place all over Tyria. Well, you have a level 80 character, and recently you just unlocked mounts for your account. I would recommend taking that boosted character and at least trying to unlock a single waypoint in every map that you can stomach. That means don't spoil too much for yourself and don't get bored, though I don't think you will, but having access to as many maps as possible ensures that you'll be able to easily get the daily 2 gold as often as you're willing to play Guild Wars 2. So hopefully now by this point in the video, you understand that there are other beneficial uses for the booster outside of just playing catch up with some friends or bypassing the entire leveling progression experience. Over basically anything else I talked about here in today's video, I would highly recommend at least unlocking the Raptor and Springer whether you upgrade them or not, because moving through the world is so much better with the mounts in Guild Wars 2, and I would go as far to say that Guild Wars 2 has the best mounts in the whole of the MMO genre. So even if it's not for the mobility, you should definitely experience these mounts as soon as possible. All in all, I hope this helped dissuade you from boosting your very first character in Guild Wars 2, but also helped you find a way to improve your overall account and quality of life. And as always, I will see you in the next one.